Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about Terminator Zero. We also have quite a bit of news to get through, a few trailers and stuff like that. And we have our typical On the Horizon segment where we talk about what's coming up in the week ahead. And that's where we are going to start with our On the Horizon segment. On the Horizon. On the Horizon. As I mentioned, On the Horizon is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And we're going to be kicking things off with From, which returns for, I believe, its third season on Sunday, September 22nd on MGM+. I'm actually going to give From a shot. I believe it's also available the first two seasons now on Amazon Prime now. And I've heard a lot of comparisons to Lost. So, of course, I have to check that out eventually. But it was locked up in MGM+ jail until just recently. So I haven't had a chance to watch it, because I'm not going to subscribe to MGM Plus for one show.
No, I don't blame you there.
So I'm going to check that out. But season 3, I believe, for that is coming on Sunday, September 22nd. And that is to MGM Plus. That's not to Prime. It'll come to Prime probably a year later or more. Next up, we have Matlock. This is a new series based on Matlock starring Kathy Bates as the titular character. And that is coming on Sunday, September 22nd to CBS and then the next day to Paramount Plus. It's one of those that'll air on CBS and then the next day it'll be on Paramount Plus every week. Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed comes out on Tuesday, September 24th to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Switch on Tuesday, September 24th. Everybody Still Hates Chris, which is an animated continuation of the Everybody Hates Chris series, which is kind of like a fictionalized version of Chris Rock's life that's narrated by Chris Rock. But this is going to be an animated version, a continuation. That's coming on Wednesday, September 25th to Comedy Central. Grotesquerie is coming on Wednesday, September 25th to FX and Hulu the next day. That is the new Ryan Murphy horror series. So think like, American Horror Story. It's kind of like his new version of that, I guess. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is coming on Thursday, September 26th to the Nintendo Switch. This one I've been waiting for. I'm sure you have as well.
Oh, yeah.
Apartment 7A is coming to Paramount Plus on Friday, September 27th. This stars Julia Garner, who is going to be the Silver Surfer in the new Fantastic Four movie. And it is a Rosemary's Baby prequel.
Oh, okay.
Retelling, reimagining.
Do not care.
Will and Harper, which is a documentary about Will Ferrell and his friend who came out to him as trans, who is a writer on Saturday Night Live and has been like a good friend of his since. And it's about like a documentary about like a road trip with the two of them as they're trying to kind of discover their new relationship with the trans situation in play and how that affects things and how they both dealing with this, like new things in their life related to that. That is coming on Friday, September 27th to Netflix. Wolves, which is the new movie from John Watts, who's the director of the Spider-Man movies in the MCU. Stars George Clooney and Brad Pitt. That is coming on Friday, September 27th to Apple TV+. It was originally supposed to be a theatrical release, and now it's just coming out to Apple TV+. Did you know anything about this? Because I didn't until I saw a trailer for it before a movie one time.
I didn't know anything about it until I saw a trailer like couple weeks ago.
Yeah. That's kind of
This is the reason John Watts isn't doing any Marvel movies, by the way, because he wanted to do this.
Megalopolis comes out on Friday, September 27th in theaters, and The Wild Robot also comes out on Friday, September 27th to theaters. And that is our On the Horizon segment. Now we're moving on to On Beat. On On Beat is our news segment. We're going to be talking about some news and some trailers. First off, we're going to be talking about the Emmy Awards. And so, broad strokes, the biggest story from the Emmy Awards is that Shogun had 25 nominations and got 18 wins. This makes it the most ever for a series in a single season.
Right, that is absolutely insane.
Yeah, no show has ever had that many wins for a single season.
It deserves it.
They've had it compounded. You know, like, if you look at something like Mad Men, for example, it has a lot more than 18 wins. But that's like over years of like multiple seasons and multiple awards through those seasons. But this is a single season. It obliterates the past record. It's the first time this has ever happened with this many. It's also, Shogun is the first non-English show to win in the Best Drama category. It's the second to be nominated. Squid Game was nominated, but did not win. And Anna Sawai is the first actress of Asian descent to win in her category.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane.
A lot of groundbreaking stuff for Shogun. We loved Shogun. We talked about it quite a bit. We covered it week to week, episode to episode on the podcast.
Is it going to be our show of the year?
Yes. Probably.
No, you're supposed to build suspense for our yearly awards podcast.
Probably.
Exactly. That's how you
I'll just use the questioning voice to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, something might come out before then that just blows it out of the water. We don't know.
Yeah. No.
But Shogun was really good. So it just swept up. Some of the other categories that are notable, I'll just go through just rapid fire. As I said, Shogun won for Best Drama Series, Hacks won for Best Comedy Series, Baby Reindeer won for Best Limited or Anthology Series. Neither of us have seen Baby Reindeer. I think we were both rooting for Fargo. Fargo only won one award.
Yeah.
And that was for Best Supporting Actor. And that went to Lamorne Morris, who played Whit Farr.
He 100% deserved it, but also like
John Hamm deserved it.
Pretty much everybody on that cast deserved it.
Yeah.
And
the writers deserved it, and the directors deserved it.
The directors deserved it. It was one of the best seasons of Fargo they made so far. It's crazy. It only got like that Emmy, and I think like there's one more.
No, that was it. I went through every one it won this year. That was the only one it won. It's won in other years, but not.
Right.
This is the only one. It was nominated for, I think, like 8 or something.
And again, like, I don't know anything about Baby Reindeer, so maybe it was like the most amazing show to come out. Like,
I've heard good things, and I've heard it's pretty radically different, which is probably why it got a bunch of awards.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that wasn't the one we were pulling for.
Nope.
The lead actor in a comedy went to Jeremy Allen White for The Bear, which is stirring up controversy again, because people are like, it's not even a dark comedy, it's just a straight up drama. It's like, I guess it's like a half hour or something, so
it's half hours. So
because of that, they put it in the comedy category, even though it's not at all. That's causing some drama, where I saw like comedy people are like, this is not a comedy, you know?
I saw some people say, you know, like, Jeremy Allen White hadn't even like cracked a single joke, so it's like, how's he winning for best comedy? But
yeah, it's kind of like unfortunate because it's a completely different type of performance, and you know, it's just routinely getting put into the comedy category just because of the length of its episodes. And that's not really a good fit. So I don't know. That's stirring up some controversy, but The Bear kind of cleaned up on a few things. Hiroyuki Sanada won for Best Drama, Actor in a Drama for Shogun. That's the man.
Well deserved.
Right there.
Yep.
He also did great work as a producer on that show. Lead actor in a limited or anthology series went to Richard Gadd for Baby Reindeer.
I'll take their word for that.
Lead actress in a comedy went to Jean Smart for Hacks. Hacks is a decent show. I've seen like the first season. I think that's it. This is, I believe, for season 3. I've just seen the first one. It's a good show, but it didn't like blow me away or anything.
I've never seen it, yeah.
Anna Sawai, as already mentioned, won for Best Actress in a Drama for Shogun. And again, that, as already just said, that is the first time anybody of Asian descent has won that award.
Yeah, which is insane. Good for her. Awesome.
Jodie Foster won for Lead Actress in a Limited or Anthology Series for True Detective Night Country. I believe that that's almost entirely because she's Jodie Foster.
Yeah, I believe so too.
That's the You're a Famous Actress Working on a TV Show award.
Yeah, considering True Detective doesn't have like any other nominations, so.
Yeah, it was not too terribly well received this season of it, so it kind of, you know, makes you question that a little bit, I guess, but I didn't see it, so I can't really comment.
It's the Jodie Foster for Limited or Anthology Jodie Foster Award.
Yeah. Next up, The Bear won for directing in a comedy for the episode Fishes, directed by Christopher Storer. Shogun won for directing in a drama for the episode Crimson Sky. That was the season finale, right?
Yeah, that was the finale, yeah.
Because that was the big plan that they kept leading up to.
Yeah.
And that was Frederick E. Otoy who directed that. And Ripley won for directing in a limited or anthology series. That's the TV series version of The Talented Mr. Ripley that was like black and white on Netflix.
You know what? It's just now dawning on me that them like announcing their intention to make more seasons of Shogun was strategic. Because if they didn't, Shogun would be in the limited drama or anthology series category instead of the drama category.
I don't know if they decided to do more seasons purely to get out of that category in the Emmys.
They definitely like announced the intention ahead of the Emmys in order to get Shogun to qualify for the drama category.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would have swept up regardless in that category. Yeah. But it's the drama category is a more prestigious category, so.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Ripley, as I mentioned, won for directing a limited or anthology series. That's Steven Zalian. Hacks won for writing in a comedy series for the episode Bulletproof. Slow Horses won for writing in a drama series. This is one of the few that Shogun did not win in the drama category. Slow Horses is I think it's on its third season. It's a British show. It has Gary Oldman in it, and it's on Apple TV+. But that one for writing in a drama. Writing in a limited or anthology series went to Baby Reindeer, which was written by Richard Gadd, who also won for Best Lead Actor in a limited or anthology series. It's like a semi-autobiographical series. So.
You know what was like surprising? It's surprising that The Bear did not win for Best Comedy Series this year.
Yeah, it was kind of, I think The Bear split it with Hacks. Like, a lot of the awards were split between The Bear and Hacks.
Yeah, and Hacks taking Best Comedy was kind of an upset because, like, The Bear had won it, like, the past couple of years.
Yeah, but it should have never been in the category, so.
No, you're right, yeah.
Some other awards worth noting. Tadanobu Asano won for supporting actor in a drama for Shogun. He was the character Yabushigi, who we talked about on the show as being one of the major standouts of the show. So.
Oh, absolutely.
That's good. And Nestor Carbonell, also for Shogun, won for guest actor in a drama. And, he played Rodriguez. And I didn't even recognize him until I think we were doing the podcast and I think you mentioned it. And I was like, what? That was Nestor? Like, I had no idea.
I think I like messaged you before the show came out. Like,
or maybe it was when I was doing the show notes.
I sent you a message like before like the show before we watched it, or like I pointed out, like I said, so like, oh, the Shogun has like 2 lost alumni in it, and you were like, really? And then I showed you the screenshot of Google with Nestor Carbonell and obviously Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah,
I was like, see, 2 lost alumni.
But I didn't even recognize him in the episode. Transformative role in that way, I guess. But, he won, and we're contractually obligated to mention that because if it has anything to do with Lost, we have to mention it on this podcast, even remotely. Main title design went to Shogun. I'm surprised it didn't win for music because that was done by, Trent Reznor's partner, and it was good music in Shogun, but it did win for the opening sequence. Oddly enough, Shogun also won for visual effects. That one's a little bit perplexing to me. I mean, Shogun has very different type of visual effects to some of the other stuff that was nominated. I mean, it beat Ahsoka, Avatar, Fallout, and Loki. Those are straight up like fantasy sci-fi shows that have like really overt special effects, like fantasy creatures and things like that. You know, that's the kind of stuff that you'd normally expect for this award, where Shogun was like a historical drama. They still use special effects. There was like several earthquake sequences that happened that used special effects. There was some scenes with armies where they had to like establish distance. There was some stuff, I'm sure, where they spread out locations where they probably had like a very small filming location and made it look like this epic vast landscape and stuff. A lot of that's done with special effects. So it's kind of like interesting because it's not what you'd normally expect to win in this category.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when you look at like just how insane some of the special effects were in like, say, Loki with spaghettification effects.
Oh, yeah.
Or like Fallout's like various monsters and stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And the ghoul in Fallout, for example. Like all that kind of stuff is really advanced.
And then we have like Best Anime Program.
Went to Blue Eye Samurai, which I mentioned last year. It won some of my awards in our Best of the Year category. Blue Eye Samurai is fantastic.
Nice. I still gotta watch that.
And that ended up winning for the episode The Tale of the Ronin and the Bride, which was a good episode of a good show. But got one for animated program.
Yeah, so that was the Emmys. It was definitely Shogun's year.
Yep, Shogun took it. Shogun swept.
Which, I can't agree more.
Yeah, probably the most accurate pick for the Emmys. As far as our taste.
For sure.
But moving on from the Emmys, Denis Villeneuve has said that Dune Messiah, which is the third Dune movie, will conclude his part in the Dune franchise, but that he's already planned to set up for a second trilogy or more movies to come for another director to carry on. He's just not going to be involved after Messiah. It's
fair. He had already, hinted at this previously. Yeah. He had made statements to the effect of he wasn't going to do, another Dune movie if he can, get a script that, he was satisfied with, or that, an angle that he was satisfied with.
It's a good exit point, I believe. I don't know the Dune books.
I heard, from people who know the Dune books.
I know there's a pretty big time skip, and other characters become the prominent characters.
I've heard things get, really weird after Messiah, and he's probably thinking he doesn't want to deal with that.
I think after Messiah, it starts to follow, Paul's kids or something instead of Paul, right. So it's kind of like a good stopping point for Villeneuve,
right,
you know?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Our next news story is that the entire staff of Annapurna Interactive resigned after a dispute with the owner of the company.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that before.
That speaks of some very, very bad blood.
Oh, yeah.
So something very contentious was happening there.
Yes.
Our last news story is that James Cameron has bought the rights to and will direct Last Train from Hiroshima. This is based on a true story of a man who survived both atomic bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I've heard of this story. I haven't read the books, but I've heard of this story where he literally survived the blast on Hiroshima and then was taking a train home to his family's home in Nagasaki and got there in time to survive the bomb in Nagasaki as well.
Yeah, it's an insane story. I just want to point out, James Cameron will direct. Yeah, we will see. Apparently, James Cameron got the idea to do this by talking to him. He died in 2010. So the guy the story is about died in 2010. So James Cameron was, talking about making this movie for 14 years already.
Yeah, but the news here is that he bought the rights.
Right.
It's based on two books. So there was an author named Charles Pellegrino, and he wrote the book The Last Train from Hiroshima and also the book Ghost of Hiroshima. And they're both kind of about that event from different angles or something. And so James Cameron bought the rights to both books, and he's kind of hodgepodging them together for his movie. He says still it's going to happen in whenever there's a gap in his Avatar work, basically.
Yeah, it's
so Avatar's
still got 500 Avatar movies.
He didn't say he's going to make all his Avatar movies before it. There's a pretty significant gap between Avatar 1 and 2.
Yeah, there was.
3's immediately into production, so maybe he'll do it after 3 or 4, I don't know. At some point, he's either going to stop doing Avatar, or he's going to put Avatar on hold for a little bit, or he's gonna die. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that's the thing. You can't count on James Cameron doing it because he's done this before, where he's announced
Battle Angel.
Battle Angel was the big one. He was attached to direct that for the longest time, and eventually he gave up and he just let Robert Rodriguez, I believe, direct that.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez did that. He also was the original pick for Spider-Man, I believe, before Sam Raimi.
Yes, he was, yeah.
It was supposed to be it would have been Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, at that point. That's what they were talking about.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about, it never happened, yeah.
Oddly enough, also, the thing that Spider-Man fans hate the most about the Raimi Spider-Man movies is the organic web shooters, and that was a James Cameron idea that stuck around.
Yeah. It's funny because, I never had any real issue with that change.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
But I remember the controversy when that was happening.
Oh, yeah, I remember, it takes away Peter's, ingenuity as, an inventor and stuff. I'm who cares?
Yeah, it's fine. It's I like Peter being a smart guy that's having this ingenuity and being this future tech guy, kind of like an Iron Man, a new Iron Man or something. But they're doing that now with the current Peter Parker that's in the MCU.
Yeah.
And I think that really works in that dynamic where I think it would have just been a distraction.
And Raimi Peter was smart anyway. He was already depicted as being smart. They didn't need to.
Yeah.
It was such a nothing thing.
Well, I think it just would have been a distraction to the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the question would have been, why is this kid so smart and stuff, instead of like, oh, this kid's so smart, you know? It would have been like, why is this kid like smarter than like the world-class engineers of the world, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly.
It would have been kind of ridiculous. Whereas like, it makes more sense with like the Peter Parker in the MCU because there's other threads and other connective tissue that can like bleed into. Whereas like, there wasn't any of that for Spider-Man, so it wouldn't have made sense. But that's it for our regular news stories, and now we're going to move on to the trailer segment of our news stories. And we're going to start things off with what looks like Shogun won all the Emmys. If there's one movie this year that's going to win all the Oscars, it's Cash Storm.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's got everything that you could want in a movie. It's got
cash,
it's got storms.
That's it.
It's got a cash storm.
The Sharknado of Twisters, you know?
You're right.
The plot looks straight out of Twisters, which is, you haven't seen Twisters, but you've seen Twister, right?
I've seen Twister, yes.
Well, you know, like Twister was about them, like, trying to get this thing so that they could figure out how to predict tornadoes.
Yeah.
Well, like, Twisters is like, the kind of the same thing, except they want to figure out how to disrupt the tornado.
Oh, okay.
And so when I saw the trailer for Cash Storm, I'm like, it's the exact same plot.
Yeah.
It's like these people trying to disrupt the tornado, and then like a bank heist gets in the way.
Yeah, this is clearly one of those like asylum type movies that's just trying to like riff off of like a big blockbuster film that just came out.
Yeah.
Clearly like that. It's got no plot. There's no plot to it because it's just like, oh, there happens to be a tornado when these people are robbing a bank and then their money gets swept up in it. And so they're trying to like work with these scientists to destroy it purely so that they can like free their money and get back to it.
So what Will's saying here is that he's going to be in line at the theater for this movie.
Oh, 100%. Buying the DVD, buying the Criterion Collection Blu-ray that is destined to come out.
You know what's the one thing that could have made Cash Storm a better movie? The one and only thing? Danny Trejo.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
Speaking of Danny Trejo,
nice.
Our next trailer is for Seven Cemeteries.
Nice segue.
Thank you. It just happened to, you know, I mean, I totally meant what I said the last time. Seven Cemeteries is Seven Samurai, but with dead people.
Oh my word, yeah, it's interesting. It's more interesting than Cash Storm, but this is still like another like very low budget movie. It looks goofy as hell.
It's the exact plot of Seven Samurai. This happened. Seven Samurai has been copied a bunch of times. I mean, most famously, The Magnificent Seven, the Western movie, is a take on Seven Samurai. It's like a Western adaptation of Seven Samurai that came out not too long after Seven Samurai came out.
The dead people like he's resurrecting to help him, they literally like look like somebody just painted them up with like Walmart Halloween zombie paint.
Yeah.
The paint kits you get at Walmart for Halloween costumes. It looks like they just used that and said, you're a zombie now.
But we're distracting from the epic plot here, which is that a drug cartel wants to get rid of this ranch or something, and this guy dies trying to protect it, and then he gets resurrected by a bruja, and then she gives him the idea to go after and resurrect some more people using his blood to build a posse to take on the drug cartel. This is basically the plot of Seven Samurai.
Yeah, pretty much.
But made pulpy and zombie-ish. It looks like something like a sci-fi original movie or something.
It does, yeah, very much. So.
But that's Seven Cemeteries. Next up, we got a trailer for Brothers, which is the new movie with Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin. So it's.
Oh, this looks amazing.
You know?
Like, genuinely.
They were both in Infinity War, but they didn't share the scene together.
No, they didn't. Okay, like...
So what I'm saying is Brothers is Infinity War Part 2.
Oh, yes. Okay, so like no more sarcasm, like this does genuinely look amazing. And I know why too, because like I got to the end of the trailer and I saw it written by Ethan Coen. I'm like, oh well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because it's about Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin are, as the title says, brothers who together lead a life of crime. Like Peter Dinklage comes up with the plans. Josh Brolin is like the muscle and the execution, and they go out and do it. And they're clearly they get in trouble with this guy looks like a cop played by Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, Academy Award winner Brendan Fraser.
Yep, they get in trouble with him. He's not in the trailer much, and also their mom gets in
mysteriously
on the
shows up again, after being gone from their lives for years.
After being gone from their lives. So, I mean, it looks it's clearly like it's a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It looks wild. It looks like
it's like a dysfunctional family comedy.
Yeah.
With a Coen twist.
Yeah. It's only written by Ethan Coen. He's not directing it. The other Coen isn't.
They're kind of doing. Yeah, Joel and Ethan are kind of doing their own things now.
Yeah.
They might do something again together, but they're mostly been working on their own stuff.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I'm excited for Brothers for sure.
And then we got the kind of biggest, most interesting trailer of the week, which was Mickey 17.
Yeah, this also looked amazing.
It's have you ever seen Parasite?
I have not.
Okay. You should see Parasite at some point. It was fantastic. But it's basically Korea's biggest director. I was gonna write his name down because I don't remember it, but...
Oh, well, that's fine.
Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite, and he did also... The Host. Have you seen that? He did Snowpiercer, the Snowpiercer movie, not the series.
Anyway, let's get to the movie.
Anyways, Mickey 17 stars Robert Pattinson in a transformative role. Like, if you didn't see his name, it might be hard to recognize him. Not just because he looks kind of different, he just carries himself differently, and he sounds very different. His accent choice is very, very, very different from what you've ever seen from him.
It's funny because, like, I was thinking about it earlier, because I saw, like, I don't know if, like, you know about this, so you probably do, but like, I didn't know about this till recently. Like, there's apparently like a Edward Scissorhands sequel reboot starring Timothée Chalamet.
There is?
Yeah.
It's a reboot or like a continuation?
I don't know.
I know he did like a thing on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, that might have been it. Because like,
sure. Because he is kind of like Tim Burton's wet dream.
Yeah, he is.
Like him and Finn Wolfhard are like.
I was kind of thinking like Timothée Chalamet, like he is kind of like the new Johnny Depp, right?
Well, like Timothée Chalamet and Finn Wolfhard, the two of them look like they stepped right outside of Tim Burton's imagination.
Yeah, and so like I was thinking like he does like look like he is like kind of like the new Johnny Depp, right? And then I'm thinking, but then like Robert Pattinson's the new Leonardo DiCaprio.
I can see that,
yeah, right? And I think like watching this trailer that kind of hammers it home because it's
he's
kind of
worked
like
with Nolan. He was in what was that one movie? The Tenet.
Yeah, Tenet. And I was like watching this trailer. It's like kind of like kind of like a similar performance, to like Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm like, What's Eating Gilbert Grape or something where like he's like this goofy guy.
Well, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? He had Down syndrome, but
yeah, he had Down syndrome, but you know what I mean. I'm not trying to like belittle like anybody. Like
I get where you're coming from.
I'm on the spectrum too, so but like it's
the ADD part. Yeah, me too.
So it kind of like reminds me of like that, like it. I guess like what I'm trying to say, like inelegantly, is like Robert Pattinson is taking on like these quirky, offbeat roles that you wouldn't expect from guy handsome, leading man, like type, actor.
Mm-hmm.
He is like following that like career trajectory, and we see that here. And what I love so much about this trailer is Robert Pattinson, but like also like the concept behind it. Like the idea is like his role is to just like go out there and get killed. He's expendable, and they just like I guess like they're cloning him. So like they got clones that he goes out, gets killed, and then he's just replaced with a clone to do the same thing over and over and over again until he doesn't die on one mission, and then there ends up being two of them.
Yeah.
His clone is activated, and
that's
he's
the
not
17
dead.
in Mickey 17 represents the 17th iteration of him.
Yeah, and so now like there's two of them coexisting, and what's funny is his successor's like immediate reaction is like he needs to die.
Well, if you've ever seen anything from Bong Joon-ho, Parasite's really famous for this, but it's also in Snowpiercer. It's also, I believe, in The Host is a lot about it as well. He's very big into stories about class differences and like how that plays out, like how like one class is like under the boot of another kind of, That's basically like entirely what Parasite's is about the class divide in Korea. The Host, I think, is kind of about like Western interference in other countries, a lot of it, but it also has to do with classism a little bit. And Snowpiercer, have you seen Snowpiercer?
No.
Well, you've seen like trailers. You know what it is.
Yeah,
right?
I know what it is. Yeah.
Well, it's entirely about like a working class and a luxury class, basically.
Right. Yeah. There's
like a rich class, and then there's people that it's like the end of the world, and the only way they can survive is to be on this train that constantly has to be moving. Otherwise, everybody will freeze to death and die. And on this train, you have the rich and wealthy who lead these like absolute lives of decadence, and then you have the people in the back of the train that are just labor, and they just work constantly under like horrible conditions. And that's Bong Joon-ho, that's what he does. It's all about class struggle things. So when you look at the trailer for Mickey 17 and then apply the idea of class issues to that, then it really starts to kind of take shape as to what this movie's actually going to be, you know?
Right, yeah. It looks fantastic, though.
Yeah, it looks great. Bong Joon-ho is knocking it out of the park again. And you need to see Parasite, my friend.
Yes, I do.
Add it to your list of hundreds, I think. Would have been on my list, but I have seen that one. I do need to see Snowpiercer, though. So I'll add Snowpiercer to my list. But anyways, that ends our news segment and brings us to our final segment, full spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, we're going to be talking about Terminator Zero. This is the anime adaptation of Terminator. Not adaptation, but like an animated iteration of Terminator. Animated sequel to Terminator, I guess, that came to Netflix. It was done by Production IG, directed by Musashi Kudo, and it was written by Mattson Tomlin, who's kind of an up-and-comer. He was uncredited, but he worked on the Batman, but he is now co-writing the Batman Part 2. He also wrote the script for a Mega Man project that's in development, and the live-action Berserker, spelled Brzrkr, the one that Keanu Reeves wrote the comic book of.
Sure.
The live-action movie of that, he's writing that as well. So he's kind of like an up-and-coming writer.
Okay.
And he did Terminator Zero. Going into this, I heard a lot of things. A lot of people were saying, this is the best Terminator thing since Terminator 2, and then they'd make the snide comment, but that's not even a big bar to cross or something. And my reaction that I said to you last week, I think I might have said it on the podcast, I'm not sure, but I definitely said it to you, was that I think none of these people have seen the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
No, I don't think they have. And watching this, like, I still stand by that.
Yeah.
People need to watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles, cause you're wrong.
Yeah, cause the Sarah Connor Chronicles is better than this.
Yes.
That's kind of the main takeaway I'll say to anybody. If you think that this is the best Terminator thing since Terminator 2, then go watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles, because that's the best Terminator thing since Terminator 2.
I was disappointed by this. I'm gonna be honest.
I was a bit too. I liked it, but I was still disappointed by it.
Yeah, it was alright. Yeah, it kind of like, I don't know, like,
it just kind of reeked of anime spin-off.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Supernatural anime or something like that. Like, a lot of times when they do like a Western, like a Western anime of like a existing Western property kind of thing, it's got certain hang-ups, certain like things that are kind of like lost in translation that don't work, that don't translate over or don't work correctly. Certain things that feel like they're trying too hard. Like, you know, anime always reaches for like kind of a wide audience spectrum, like a wide age range. Like, anime will target more adults or some will target more like, there's anime out there that target like 40-year-old women, you know? There's anime out there that target like 80-year-old grandmothers. You know, in Japan, that's how it is. And in America and in the West, we always looked at animation as being more like a kid's thing. So whenever they make an animated version of like something and it's more geared towards adults, it's like they overstep, like they add too many like F-bombs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they add too much shit to try to like make it go like, but this is mature, see? And it's like, Japanese animation really doesn't have that problem because it's just accepted that, you know, some of it's going to be for adults. You know what I mean? And so you get that thing all the time whenever they do like an anime adaptation or anime continuation or spin-off of like a Western thing, with like very few exceptions. One of them being like, you know, Cyberpunk Edge Runners was like amazing, you know?
Oh yeah, that was an incredible show.
Yeah.
This was fine. I mean, it had good action, good animation, you know. One of the things, like, I just can't get, like, attached to any of the characters.
Yeah, some of them seemed like they just had no place, no purpose, really. The middle child, for example. Like, you could have just, like, gotten rid of them. Like, I honestly think that they probably put the middle child in because they planned to kill one of the kids.
Probably.
And then they, like, backed out at the last minute, and so they didn't. Because the youngest child, the daughter, she kind of has a purpose in the show, at least in the early episodes.
Right, yeah.
The oldest child child has a definite purpose in it, especially in the later episodes.
Yeah.
And the middle child's just there, which makes me
Yes.
think that the original idea was that it was going to be 3 kids, and the whole reason it was going to be 3 kids was that they were going to kill one of the kids.
Right.
Because
and then they got cold feet.
That would be the only
that.
purpose to have this kid in it. And then they got cold feet and didn't do it. And now it's like you watch it and go, why is this kid here? What is the point of Hero, the middle child? Like, what is his point?
I like the idea of developing like an AI that was like to counter Skynet.
Yeah, it kind of gave me a little bit of a person of interest vibe there.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, that just led to like a bunch of philosophical monologues that didn't seem to go anywhere.
Yeah, they had a hard time making ground with the whole Malcolm character and his relationship with Kokoro, the AI that he created to take on Skynet, and it's just like, just kept going back and forth, and it was like retreading old material. They're retreading stuff that was done in The Matrix. They're retreading stuff that was already done in like Sarah Connor Chronicles and other Terminator movies, and they're retreading stuff in their own show, like episode to episode. Like they're retreading stuff in episode 2 that they covered in episode 1.
They kept repeating like their concept of time travel, which was like every travel to the past creates like a new timeline, which is
string
fine.
Theory, yeah.
Yeah, string theory, which is fine.
Which, by the way, Sarah Connor Chronicles does much better.
Yes.
in more of like a show don't tell sort of way, like they do.
And, they tell here because they're like, they explain it like several different times. And it's like, okay, you only had to explain that once.
And then the events seem to contradict it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of like Endgame in that the time travel's the weakest part.
Yes. Yeah, the time travel is definitely the weakest part. I would have appreciated more if, like, they didn't bother to try and explain how time travel worked and just kind of like, cause I think the Terminator, like, works best. The time travel element was always just a plot MacGuffin to, like, explain why things are happening. You know, it was never like the focus.
Terminator is about 2 things: an unstoppable monster,
yeah,
and existential dread.
And I think like worrying so much about like the mechanics of time travel is kind of beside the point and kind of like slows everything down.
And again, I'll say it again: Sarah Connor Chronicles,
yes,
did the same type of time travel idea. They did string theory in Sarah Connor Chronicles, but they did it more in like a show don't tell sort of way, and it was much better, much more interesting, and with like more far-reaching and dynamic ramifications.
Yeah.
Like much more so than here. Like here it was all just told. And in Sarah Connor Chronicles, they literally had a part in Sarah Connor Chronicles where a character had a girlfriend in the future and he went back to the past, and then his girlfriend went back to the past later. But the one that came back later was from a different future because it was a different timeline.
Yeah,
exactly. That was spun off by it. So it's like they went right into that stuff like head first, you know, and in a much more interesting way, with deeper ramifications. And here it's just like they were just trying to like look fancy. Like that's the only thing. It's like they're trying to like push themselves off as like smarter science fiction.
Yeah, exactly. It was trying to be like heady and philosophical. Mm-hmm. I think it was like definitely the type of anime where it's this overwrought philosophizing where it's like, okay, we get it. We just want like more action. Also, like, I didn't know what to make of the ending. I really didn't. Cause, like, Kokoro, like, spends the entire series, you know, like, not sure if she even, like, wants to side with humanity, like Malcolm wants, you know, and she's like, you know, she keep asking Malcolm, you know, like, what's good about humanity?
I think that's honestly, I think that's one of the things I liked about it is that the ending is like indeterminate. It's like it's kind of like the main conflict was resolved and everything else is still up in the air and there's still a sense of dread.
Right. Yeah. It ends with everything up in the air because even at the end, you don't know like what side Kokoro is landed on. Like Kokoro says she wants to be like better AI or whatever. You don't know like if she's telling the truth, and then like the Terminator was like telling the oldest son there that like, oh, he sent the Terminator back in the past to help him, like, you know, disable Kokoro because, like, he brokered an alliance between humanity and Skynet in his future. And we don't know if that's a lie, and, like, it leads to, like, this big choice where, like, does he activate the EMP and destroy Kokoro, or does he not? And he ends up not doing it. Still, we don't know what Kokoro's, like, intentions are, you know, or, like, what Kokoro's gonna do, or what that's even going to lead to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, yeah, maybe, I thought like that, but, like, if they intend this to be more than one season, maybe that's why they left it open-ended. I thought this was, like, a one-off deal.
I think it kind of works in the same way that, like, Terminator 2's ending worked.
Right.
In that, like, they kind of did what they needed to do to stop Judgment Day, but it doesn't end with Judgment Day coming in passing.
No.
It ends, like, with, like, an uncertainty, you know? Like,
right.
Now we don't know what's going to happen. Like, we know the exact events of what was going to happen aren't going to happen, but we don't know what is going to happen. And that's kind of how Terminator 2 ends. So kind of is trying to do the same thing, I think. I don't think it's as effective as Terminator 2 was with that, but I like that it did that it left with some uncertainty, you know?
Yeah, and that's fair. I thought it was decent. It didn't blow me away like I expected it to, but I did enjoy it for what it is.
It had a few moments. There was stuff like, I like the portrayal of Kenta at the beginning of the series, like with the robot cat, for example, and the way he's like trying to take it apart, and the way that's been the divide between the kids, and I like how that plays into Kenta's character. He's like probably the most interesting character in that regard. I thought the reveal of Aiko being Malcolm's mother was kind of interesting at the end, although that throws like a wrench into the whole string theory part of time travel, since it shows her with a robotic arm, but her arm got crushed in this timeline, so why would it have been crushed in another timeline before? Yeah,
they completely like contradict their entire...
That's time loop time travel versus string theory are mutually exclusive versions of time travel.
And they did it, like, in service of a twist. Which, like, they bombard you with twists in, like, the last episode.
Yeah. Like, there's some good moments. Yeah. There's some good stuff here and there.
There's some good stuff, yeah.
I think if you haven't seen Sarah Connor Chronicles, you'd watch this and go, oh, this is the best Terminator thing since Terminator 2. And maybe Terminator can get back on track. And maybe that's part of the excitement of this show, is the idea of like, oh, this is an improvement over the really, really, really bad movies that have been coming out.
Yes, it is better than, like, the movies that followed T2.
I haven't seen the last one. I've heard that's actually good, but I haven't seen that one.
Is that supposed to actually be good? I have no clue.
It was written by Josh Friedman, who did Sarah Connor Chronicles.
I don't know. I haven't seen it either. I kind of gave up on the franchise, to be honest.
Yeah.
After Genesis.
Yeah. I think I only saw part of Genesis before I just stopped.
The Red Letter Media.
That's the movie that famously got that famously got Christian Bale like outed as being kind of an asshole for that leaked audio.
No, that was the one before Genesis.
Oh, okay. That was the one before. That was the one that I watched part of. I didn't watch Genesis.
That was the one that was like actually set during like the time of the Resistance.
Yeah.
Which the only movie to my knowledge that's set during the Resistance, and then like Genesis goes back to trying just being whacked out and weird, because it's like Genesis is the one where like John Connor is now like an evil Terminator, and like I don't know what the hell's happening in that movie. Emilia Clarke's in it.
She plays Sarah Connor in it, right?
She plays Sarah Connor, yeah.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, again, I'm going to plug Sarah Connor Chronicles because everybody needs to see this if you haven't. That version of Sarah Connor is portrayed by Lena Headey from Game of Thrones, Cersei Lannister.
Yeah, pretty funny coincidence there.
Yeah, this is way before Game of Thrones, so like she was not a known name at the time. But yeah.
But that's all I have to say about this.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm in kind of the same boat, you know. Like I said, there's good bits.
There's good bits, yeah.
There's
it's pretty
good
decent.
Bits here and there.
I would recommend checking it out. I'd recommend it. I didn't fall in love with it, but I'd still recommend checking it out. If you're a fan of Terminator, you're looking for something to watch on Netflix,
I'd say go in with your guard up just a little.
You can do much worse.
Just don't go in expecting it to be like Edge Runners quality.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. It is not.
It's not. No, unfortunately.
If you're going in and going like, I actually like the bad Terminator movies, then this will be like, you know, amazing to you, I guess.
Yeah, this will be a revelation.
If you're like, Terminator Genesis was the shit, then you'll probably love Terminator Zero. But if you went in after having seen Sarah Connor Chronicles and like other, you know, good sci-fi movies have done it, or if you've just been let down with everything since Terminator 2, then you might want to go in a little bit guarded to this, because it isn't as good as it's kind of being hyped up to be, but it's decent. And that's all I have to say about that. So that's it for this week. Next week, we are going to be talking about two shows. Two shows in one podcast. Are we insane, Will?
We are very insane.
Because
Yes.
we're going to be talking about these two shows for the next several weeks. And those two shows are Agatha All Along, which has already started, and The Penguin, which I think starts tomorrow. I think the first episode comes out.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of Agatha All Along, and then the first episode of The Penguin next week. And then we're going to be talking week to week about the individual episodes of each show until they both conclude. So it's Agatha All Along is going to end. It's going to have 2 episodes come out at the end as well. It started with 2 episodes, and it's going to end with 2 episodes on October 30th. And then The Penguin's going to go like another 2 weeks after that. But we're going to be talking about both of those shows for a while now, so stay tuned for that. It'll be a fun discussion. Get your Disney Plus subscription ready, get your Max subscription ready, because it's Marvel versus DC, baby. And that's what we're going to be talking about, so stay tuned for that. Thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.com. If you go to our website and open up a container store for any of our podcast episodes, scroll down to the last paragraph. You'll find all of our relevant links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all of our social accounts. It's all there, so check that out there. You can also subscribe to our podcast through your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast. Just look up OnScreen, the total screen. Do a little looking. You should be able to find it. Might not be the first thing that pops up, but do a little looking and it should be obvious which one is ours. Subscribe to that there if you want. You can also watch any of our podcast episodes on our YouTube channel. Every single episode is on there, on our SoundCloud page and through our RSS feed, through podcast clients. You're only going to get the more recent episodes, but if you go to YouTube, you'll find every single episode we've ever recorded, as well as the 300 episodes we did of the weekly set. We did, I think, 10 or 12 something episodes of the old switcheroo. We did some video content, some top 10 videos, some other stuff. All of that is on our YouTube channel, so you can check all of that out there as well. So thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the On-Screen Podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.